Don't we all dream of that one simple hack that transforms our playing overnight? Most of the time, that dream stays a dream. But some hacks can actually shift the way we are playing without tons of practice. What I'm about to show you was a real eye-opener for myself when I first learned about it. It really changed the way I think about improvising. And it's often said that Charlie Parker developed his style based on this exact concept. Let me start with a question. How does music work? At its core, music is harmony, melody, and rhythm. Let's forget for now about rhythm and focus on harmony and melody. Harmony is usually created by stacks of thirds. For example, a C major triad consists of the notes C, E, and G. E is a third on top of C, and G is a third on top of E. You can imagine this a little bit like a house. On the ground floor there's C, on the first floor there's E, and on the second floor G. And in jazz we usually add a fourth floor. C major becomes C major 7. So we have C, E, G, and then another third on top of G, B. All these notes, maybe you know that already, come from the C major scale. The first note, third note, fifth note, and seventh note of the scale. And when we see a C major 7 chord symbol like this, we usually think of the C major scale and of the 4 notes C, E, G, and B when we improvise. That's probably how you think about improvising and how I used to think until I learned this one new idea. Remember how C major 7 was built by stacks of thirds? What happens if we add another third on top of the B? If we move 2 notes up in the C major scale from B, we come to D, which is the 9th of C major. If we take a closer look at C major 9, we will see that E minor 7 is hidden in the chord with the notes E, G, B, and D. That means that we can think of an E minor 7 chord when we see C major, and this unlocks a ton of new ideas. It can honestly be a real game changer for your playing. In fact, this exact shift, thinking in so-called upper structure chords, is said what helped Charlie Parker develop his own style and in the end develop also bebop. Let's take a look at this quote of Charlie Parker. Charlie Parker said himself, "I realized by using the high notes of the chords as a melodic line and by the right harmonic progression, I could play what I heard inside me. That's when I was born." And by high notes, Charlie Parker means here the upper structures of a chord. To avoid confusion, when we think of E minor 7 over C major, we still use the same scale, but the target notes change. Instead of focusing on C, E, G, and B, we now target the notes E, G, B, and D. Let me show you an example line where I think E minor 7 over C major. I start with G, B, and D, which are 3 notes from the E minor 7 chord, and then go down stepwise, while I make sure that the chord notes always fall on the beats, which helps to make the sound of E minor 7 really clear. Then I land on E, play G and D, which are also part of E minor 7, and play an F leading to E. Let's now have a look at a 2-5-1 progression in C major, with the chords D minor 7, G7, and C major 7. You remember our metaphor with the floors? Now we add again a 5th floor to each of the chords. And that means that D minor 7 becomes D minor 9, G7 becomes G9, and C major 7, C major 9, as we had before. For D minor 9, we have to add an E, and if we take a close look, we will find that this gives us an F major 7 chord in D minor 9. G7 becomes G9 by adding A, and there we can find a B half diminished chord. And with C major 9, we know already that we can think instead of E minor 7. So instead of thinking D minor 7, G7, C major 7, we can think now F major 7, B half diminished, and E minor 7. Let me show you an example line for that. Over D minor, I start with an arpeggio only using the notes of F major 7. Then I go to G7 and start first with an arpeggio of B half diminished. Then I go from A down to F and play a double chromatic approach from below to E in the last bar, and there I play again an arpeggio of E minor 7 over C major. So modern jazz players take this concept even a step further. But before I get to that, if you like this video and you want to support my channel, make sure to like the video. Also, it would be great if you just leave a comment and tell me what you think. This also really helps the algorithm to understand that people are interested in my content and they will push it to more people. If you don't want to miss out on future videos like this, also make sure to subscribe to my channel. So, as I just mentioned, modern jazz players take the concept of upper structures even a step further. And now it gets really interesting. Let's go back to the dominant chord G7. So if you go back to the metaphor of the house, here we have 4 floors. The ground floor G, the first floor B, the second floor D, and the third floor F. Now let's add 2 more floors to that. If we take a look at the scale and we add 2 stacks of thirds, we have now A as the 9th and C as the 11th note. But here's one thing. If we would play this chord on the piano, we would quickly hear that C, the 11th, clashes with B, the 3rd of the chord. And to make this sound better, we can raise C by a half step to C sharp, which is the sharp 11th of the chord. You might have already seen chords with a sharp 11th before. Also, often on dominant chords, instead of the natural 9th, we play the flat 9th or the sharp 9th. For our example, let's choose the flat 9th, so A becomes A flat. Now, if we look at the top 3 notes, we have F, A flat and C sharp. And this is the same as a D flat major triad. So we can play a D flat major triad as an upper structure over a G7 chord, and this creates a really colorful altered dominant sound. Here's an example line using the D flat major triad over G7. So here on G7 we play F, A flat, C sharp, F and A flat, which is simply the arpeggio of the D flat major triad, and then we play an approach to G in the next bar. This way of approaching improvising using upper structures really opens a lot of new doors. But for this video I will stop here to make it not too long. If you're interested in that topic and you would like me to do a follow-up video on this, diving more into different possibilities, let me know down in the comments. And if you're looking now for more exercises and ways to improve your soloing, make sure to check out this video next. Thanks for watching guys, and see you next time.